Number 15. The Mannequin. One mysterious and disturbing find in a storage unit makes one wonder what people get up to in these lockers. Late one afternoon, the auction turned to the last remaining unit. The facility had a pretty good run that day, with lots of cash changing hands and some good hauls in other units, but bidders were anticipating this one. It was a big unit, 10 feet by 30 feet. Lots of space for goods and treasures, lots of space for discovery, but once the doors were flung open, there was nothing but silence. Standing there in the middle of the large, garage-sized unit was a female mannequin. That's not all. It seemed to be splattered in bright red blood. It wouldn't be a surprise if the mannequin was bleeding, because its torso was absolutely riddled with stab wounds, and the weapon of choice seemed to be a butcher knife, which was lying nearby on the floor, the blade also red. This was the only thing in the unit, nothing else. Not even an empty cardboard box. So what did it all mean? What had happened here? Some sort of strange voodoo ritual? An actual murder? Or was some other crime committed? The red blood was actually paint, so perhaps it was simply an art installation. Still, that's some mysteriously mad art. Number 14. A human body. Another Storage Wars mystery, a murder mystery, in a rare A&E episode called Unlocked by Low. The stars are gathered around a poker table in Las Vegas's Sahara Casino, sharing stories of their strangest storage unit discoveries. Daryl Sheets claims to have found a human body in one unit in 1985. I actually found a body years ago in like 1988 down in San Diego, California. Sheets says in the episode, "You know, I don't really want to talk about it a whole lot, but it wasn't a pleasant situation. But in this business, it does happen. I found ashes, coffins." Sheets has talked about the incident, however. He told the magazine Reality Weekly a little about the discovery. He said he'd found the human body wrapped in plastic. He later was told by the San Diego police that the body was that of a murder victim. A man had murdered his wife in the unit. Chills, much? It was a very horrific story, and it wasn't a cult group and all that kind of stuff. The San Diego police confiscated everything in the locker. For those keen on finding something neat-o inside a storage unit, you might want to take a sniff around the area. If it smells like human waste or decomposing flesh, buyer beware. Number 13. Headless Barbie. I'm sure you've heard of Malibu Barbie. What about Skipper and Ken? There is the normal range of Barbies you'd find in your local toy shop, but the storage unit range is a little bit more, should I say, damaged. Take a peek inside a stalker's unit, for example, one of Madonna's insane stalkers, and we mean that literally. Robert Dewey Hodgkins escaped from a mental hospital where he was confined in February 2012 for threatening to kill the pop star. Don't worry, he was recaptured. But one of the creepiest things about Hodgkins is that he had a storage unit in Long Beach full of mysterious and rather threatening paraphernalia. One of those bits of paraphernalia, a headless Barbie. If that wasn't enough, loads of Madonna memorabilia added to the creepiness of the unit. A Barbie backpack, another baby doll sumo wrestler, a sadistic clown mask, and just way too many knives. Although the crazy stalker is locked up again, the purchaser of the unit has had to suffer the consequences of this purchase. Imagine the haunting PTSD you'd undergo having opened a storage unit full of mysterious stalker fetishes. Los Angeles CBS News spoke with the unit's new owner, and he said finding all the Madonna memorabilia was strange, but made sense once he uncovered who its previous owner was. As no active investigations were ongoing, LAPD detectives took photos, but didn't confiscate the items. Fantastic. I bet the new owner is thrilled he didn't have his new Barbie taken away. Number 12. Grandma's remains. I'm sure that most nanas would prefer that their remains be cherished. A lovely, often visited tombstone in a cemetery, a porcelain urn on the family mantle, not stowed away in some storage unit, alongside odds and ends and long forgotten junk. But that's just where one Florida family stored the remains of their late grandma when she was discovered by the unit's new owners. To be honest, cremated remains are not that uncommon, but a full casket stored away in a storage unit, that's not only mysterious, that's downright nightmarish. When the family failed to pay rent on the unit, they were notified that it would soon be sold. The family responded that if they auctioned off the unit, they'd be auctioning off the body of their relative. The eerie blue casket had been sitting in the unit for 17 years. That's nearly 2 decades of Grandma's ghost ruminating in her family's abandon. I think it's time for a haunting. Number 11. A live hand grenade. Many folks who go auctioning for storage units are searching for an explosive unit. A real bomb full of treasures that may change their life forever. Some units, however, get quite literally explosive. Take this unit purchased by a man from Muskegon, for example. The man dug into the unit, where he found a handgun case amongst the winnings. Inside, not a handgun, but a live hand grenade. Being an intelligent man, he quickly delivered the bomb to Eggleston Township Fire Department, where he approached Deputy Chief Dan Willa. He walked up to the desk and said, "I have something I think you're going to want to see." Willa recalls, he absolutely did the right thing by bringing it in. Willa did remark that, ideally, one should call in police rather than transporting a bomb themselves. The live hand grenade had the pin intact, which was then removed in a transport-safe container by the Michigan State Police Bomb Squad. They took it to Grand Rapids to be x-rayed and then destroyed. Willa called storage unit auctions a real crapshoot. He was sure on point with this one. Number 10. Passed away animals, living humans. The vice president of St. Petersburg's Storage Protection Service, Tammy Lockwood, is very familiar with the strange and mysterious finds you might uncover in a storage unit. The ones that she thinks are the most strange and mysterious are those that used to be living and those that still are. In her experience, she's come across a number of empty aquariums and some that weren't. One fish tank held long petrified fish, another some empty husks of 2 iguanas. Still more have held passed away snakes. And she's even come across a passed away cat. Yikes. But the living things get even creepier. For instance, 3 tarantulas were found in one unit, 2 of them eating each other, while the other had already been cannibalized. And in another unit, a dormant python. What kind of people store their pets in storage units? Well, maybe those squatters who are actually living in their units. People aren't supposed to be living in there, Lockwood said, but from time to time people do try to make these storage units their homes. Number 9. Human organs. One of the darkest and most mysterious unit collections was found in 2012 when a disgraced medical examiner's unit was auctioned off to the highest bidder. Inside, the unfortunate new owner discovered more than 100 human organs, preserved in plastic food containers and cups, hearts, brains, lungs, all inside Tupperware, styrofoam cups, and even garbage bags filled with formaldehyde. In 1996, the medical examiner in question, Dr. Michael Birkeland, had been fired from the Jackson County, Missouri Medical Examiner's Office for filing incomplete autopsy reports. He claimed his reports were disputed due to proofreading errors. However, the organs found in his storage unit would suggest otherwise. They may have been gathered from local funeral homes under the guise of private autopsies. And why in the world does he have such a disgusting hobby? Well, when you dig into his story, it gets even stranger and more mysterious. The Circuit Court of Jackson County declared that Birkeland poses a substantial probability of serious danger to the health, safety, and welfare of his patients, clients, and/or the residents of Missouri. And in 1999, they revoked his license to practice medicine. They jeopardized more than 9 criminal cases in the state of Missouri on the basis of false testimony. It had also been found that Birkeland had removed sections of brains, which he claimed to have been used for teaching purposes. But did this stop Birkeland from pursuing human organs? No. Where would you go if you weren't allowed to practice medicine in your home state? Florida, probably. And that's just what he did. He worked there from 1997 to 2003, where he was again let go for incomplete autopsy reports. In fact, his involvement in the high-profile investigation of the passing of Lori Clostes could have influenced the case. The 28-year-old was the aide of former Florida Congressman Joe Scarborough. Wide speculation about foul play led to the release by Scarborough of the full 18-page autopsy report. But the report for Clostes was done by none other than our dear friend, Dr. Birkeland. Clostes was found unconscious on the floor of Scarborough's office in Fort Walton by 2 prospective green card applicants. Taking a look back at the 2001 case, you'd find there are discrepancies in what was put forth by Scarborough to the media and Clostes' actual health status and family history. Birkeland's autopsy claimed that the cause was an undiagnosed heart valve disease, cardiac arrhythmia. This, he said, made her lose consciousness and smack her head on the floor. Clostes ran 5 miles a day. She was healthy and fit. However, shortly after discovering her body, Scarborough's office put out a report that Clostes had a history of health issues, specifically surrounding stroke and epilepsy. The girl's family contradicted this claim. Dr. Birkeland's autopsy report claimed no foul play. Could his report have been falsified? With a storage unit full of human organs, I wouldn't put it past him. Number 8. Celebrity Storage Units Part 1. While many would like to peek into the lives of celebrities by being taken on a grand tour of their cribs, few stalkers have thought to themselves, but what about their storage units? Considering the amount of freebies given to Hollywood celebrities, along with how much crap they must stockpile themselves after their pockets are lined, it probably comes as no surprise that some celebrities have storage units to house all the extra odds and ends, and one of those celebrities is none other than Burt Reynolds. Turns out Reynolds, who brought us Boogie Nights, Deliverance, The Dukes of Hazzards, and so much more, is somewhat of a pack rat. In fact, that's just how his one-time co-star, Jon Voight, described him. And boy, did this pack rat pack some not so ratty stuff away. When Reynolds failed to pay for his unit, his items were auctioned off. These items included loads of photos from co-stars and celebrity friends, the bill of sale for Roy Rogers' favorite horse, Trigger, a framed 1955 letter from Dr. Lynn Fort for emergency surgery on Reynolds' spleen, Fred Biletnikoff, Oakland Raiders former wide receiver's last and final can of Stickum adhesive, a large horse carriage created by Dolly Parton, a Smokey and the Bandit toy car, a hockey stick chair from his Mystery Alaska film, and perhaps the biggest win, the canoe from Deliverance. Reynolds' unit held so much memorabilia that many winning bidders from the auction formed the Burt Reynolds and Friends Museum in Jupiter, Florida, which has since turned into a shopping mall. Number 7. Pirates Booty. Most of these entries are more odd than valuable and more gruesome than awesome, but one lucky bidder actually did strike gold, literally. Many know Laura and Dan Dotson as the showrunners of American reality hit Storage Wars, which is a televised version of the type of auctions we've been talking about in this top 15. They auction off lockers that have been foreclosed to bidders who have no idea what could be in store for them. Laura and Dan recently sold off a rare collection of pre-19th century treasure relics for $1,000, only to discover that the buyers found a pirate chest full of genuine doubloons worth $500,000. According to an appraisal expert, the pieces of 8 Spanish gold dated somewhere between the 16th and 19th centuries. The box weighed so much that 3 people were required to move it. This unit is one of the biggest sales in the history of the A&E show, which is among the most viewed shows on the channel, with 4.7 million viewers per week on average. Who took the biggest haul from the find? The buyer, who was the beneficiary and had taken the gamble on the locker without knowing what it held. In a tweet, Dan Dotson expressed the shock value of the doubloon discovery. "We had no idea. We only heard from the excited buyer and the storage facility owner. Great find of a lifetime." Number 6. A human leg. The storage unit door swings open. A few dozen people gathered outside it to eyeball the contents. Interested buyers are forbidden to enter, so they have no idea what mysterious things they might find inside. Imagine a unit with suitcases, totes, trash bags, duffels, all sorts of containers, packed to the brim. What could be hidden here? Could there be a gem worth thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions? Or is this unit's starting price of $25 more than charitable? Most storage unit hunters are expecting to find knickknacks, piles of clothes, stray records, and, one hopes, some long-lost treasure from the bygone era. What they're not expecting to find is severed limbs. But in 2007, that's exactly what Shannon Wisnad discovered in a storage unit he won at an auction. The random leg that Shannon happened upon wasn't just laying around bloody like a scene from a horror movie. Rather, it was tucked away in a meat smoker. Was this the storage unit for some secret society of cannibals preparing for a barbecue? No, not quite. The unit belonged to John Wood, who'd been in a plane crash in 2004. Wood's leg was amputated above the knee, and it seems he wasn't yet ready to part with the limb. In fact, he hoped to be buried with it, which is why he was storing it. After his payments fell behind, he lost the unit, and his leg again. You'd think that Wisnat would have had some compassion and reunite Wood with his leg. After all, why would any sane person want to keep the thing? But that's not what happened. Though he now legally owned the amputated leg, he passed it on to police who forwarded it to a funeral home. Then, as reported by the BBC, Wisnat asked for the leg back because he'd made a profit by charging children $1 and adults $3 to look in the smoker. When the funeral home denied his request, he contacted Wood to see if he'd get involved, so that he, Wisnat, could be reunited with the profit-making leg. He very generously offered to share the profit. Wood's response: "I just think it's despicable. I don't mind having the 15 minutes of fame, but I'm not looking to really profit off this thing." He's making a freak show out of it. As strange as it sounds, Wishnat and Wood then brought the case of the amputated leg to TV court, where Judge Greg Mathis did the honorable thing and returned the long-lost leg to its rightful owner, you know, the one whose body part it was. Number 5. Defaced bills. Imagine opening a unit to find an old trunk full of money. That's everyone's dream, really. But if the dream trunk was full of defaced bills, that's exactly what happened on the show Storage Wars. After just a cursory glance inside, the bidder won the unit with his $400 bid and discovered a whole lot more, $23,600 more to be exact. Stashed away in the unit, there was $24,000 cash in an old trunk. The most mysterious thing about the find was that a hole had been drilled where the faces were supposed to be in every last bill. After making the discovery, the buyer wondered why the bills had been defaced. They also wondered if the money was devalued because of it. Luckily for the buyer, bills are considered legal tender. Despite being drilled in the face, banks must accept bills if the serial numbers are intact and a series of tests are passed. No need for the Benjamin in the Benjamins. Number 4. The Superman comic. It's common knowledge that Nicolas Cage is a spendthrift. He's also known for being a bit odd. His purchases are not far off the must-haves of his film characters, although he's never attempted to run down the Declaration of Independence. As far as we know, he has purchased a Tarbosaurus skull that was 67 million years old, a pyramid, an island, a purportedly haunted house where a life was taken, and a pair of albino king cobras. If you had to guess a Cage purchased item that was discovered in a storage unit, you might take a wild leap off the deep end. But you'd be wrong. Actually, the item discovered was a simple Superman comic book. Well, maybe not so simple, being that the first edition was purchased by Cage for $150,000. The mystery, however, lies in how it came to be in a random storage unit in California. Cage had purchased the 1938 Action Comics Superman in 1997, and 3 years later, in 2000, an unidentified thief nabbed this comic and several others from his home. While the other comic books were found long before, the missing first edition was rediscovered in 2011 in an abandoned storage unit. The discovery was a lifesaver for Cage, who had recently filed for bankruptcy as he was in debt for $13 million, probably due to the innumerable island and pyramid purchases charged to his Amex, selling for a whopping $2,161,000 at auction. Superman helped save Cage's ass, but the culprit who nicked it managed to get away, and to this day remains a mystery. Number 3. Another human body. Alongside wedding photos of a happy couple laid the remains of one of the happy pair, the groom. After failing to pay for her Upland self-storage unit for several months, Darlene Bork learned that the facility's manager had auctioned off some of her belongings. She tried to contact the buyers. She posted notes on the unit that said she'd give anything to recover her contents. She begged the Store King employees for help getting one of these boxes back, one in particular. Bork's sights were not set on her wedding memorabilia, cake knife, champagne glasses, or wedding photo album. Rather, she was frantically searching for one box, one which held the remains of her husband. All she wanted was that one box. Facility manager Susie Gonzalez said she said it belonged to her husband and she wanted it for her kids. For sentimental reasons. It was real important to her. She didn't care about the other boxes, but she seemed really broken up about that one box. However, her recovery efforts were all in vain when the box's buyer, who had bought a half dozen boxes for $20, opened it to discover Robert Bork's corpse. Robert had disappeared on December 22nd, 1996. He was 27. The woman and her son were going to take the stuff to their house and go through it there, Gonzalez said. But because of the way Bork acted, we were all real curious, so the son opened it here, right on the spot. Gonzalez said the odor was horrific, and her assistant manager immediately went to phone the police. The body was wrapped in 2 tarpaulins, blankets, and surrounded by sand, in a wardrobe box that was wrapped in thick plastic sheeting, but still, the smell. Shortly after, 31-year-old Darlene Bork was arrested for allegedly murdering her husband. They were having marital problems at the time of his disappearance. In fact, there were restraining orders on both sides, and divorce papers were being drawn up. Darlene pleaded not guilty in San Bernardino County. I still can't believe it, because the woman seemed like such a nice, upstanding person, said Gonzalez. She was very petite and attractive and always very polite. If pretty petite polite Darlene Bork hadn't fallen behind on her $25 payments, who knows how long she could have kept her dirty little secret under wraps. Number 2. Celebrity Storage Units Part 2. Celebrity bankruptcies can turn out some pretty hot items in their storage units. Those in-the-know buyers often watch out for celebrity units, because who knows what valuable items might be inside. The resale value of certain memorabilia may reach the hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions. So when Michael Jackson found himself in the red in the late 90s, it's no surprise that some of these birds came swooping in to pick up the breadcrumbs. A company that the Jacksons owed money to discovered a storage unit chock full of Jackson family paraphernalia. They were able to collect on their debt through a bankruptcy sale of the items, which Michael tried to block. However, the company was able to move forward by buying the title, the estate's right, and interest in the subject property. However, after setting up a pay-for-access website in 2004 in Jackson's name, using his likeness and photographs of Jackson, alongside with additional copyrighted materials pulled from the bankruptcy sale, Jackson took them to court. However, with his legal team busy elsewhere in 2006, Jackson failed to prosecute, and so the case was dismissed. When Jackson passed away in 2009, his lawyers took the defendants to court after they attempted to cash in by building more pay-for-access websites. The court agreed that the bankruptcy sale did not transfer the rights or title of intellectual property. This personal property included unreleased audio recordings, though Jackson's debtors owned the rights to the tangible property, the cassette tapes. They did not own the rights to the intangible property, Jackson's music, so the debtors did not have the right to copy and distribute these tapes. Though his bankruptcy was not funny, Michael did get the last laugh. Before we get to number 1, my name is Chills and I hope you're enjoying the video so far. If you've ever been curious as to what I look like in real life, then follow me on Instagram at DylanIsChillinYT with underscores instead of spaces. I also have a Twitter at YT_chills where I post video updates. I'd really appreciate it if you followed me, and feel free to send me a DM if you have any questions or suggestions. If you'd like to see more of these videos in the future, then hit that subscribe button because we upload new countdowns every Tuesday and Saturday. Number 1. Bond, James Bond. A guy walks into a storage container. He buys the container for $100, and inside he finds the Lotus East Spirit submarine from the James Bond film, The Spy Who Loved Me. No, this is not a joke. The Long Island contractor didn't know the container's contents, and when he and his brother threw the doors open, all they found was a giant lump, sheeted over with blankets, but underneath the sheets was the shell of the wheelless white vehicle with a dented roof. The two hadn't seen the film in question, so they thought they had been suckered into buying junk, but others who were true blue James Bond fans told them that they had a mint on their hands. The Ian Fleming Foundation co-founder himself verified that the Lotus sub was authentic. Now the blue-collar worker is a near millionaire, as billionaire tech mogul Elon Musk purchased the Lotus E-Spirit on auction for $997,000, wanting to make the vehicle transform from roadster to submarine just like in the movies. It was amazing as a little kid in South Africa to watch James Bond in The Spy Who Loved Me drive his Lotus E-Spirit off a pier, press a button and have it transform into a submarine underwater, Musk said in a statement. I was disappointed to learn that it actually can't transform. What I'm going to do is upgrade it with a Tesla electric powertrain and try to make it transform for real. Film fantasy to reality that seems like fantasy. There couldn't be a happier ending. Thanks for checking out this video. Be sure to subscribe because we upload new countdowns every Tuesday and Saturday. Or if you're still not convinced, here are some of our other videos that I think you'd like. Enjoy!